How's it going, everybody? My name is Green Leader, and this is Green Squadron Games. And today I was wanting to talk a bit about Starfield. The game is coming out in the next couple of weeks, and I'm kind of excited for it. I've been seeing a whole bunch of trailers for it and a whole bunch of advertising, and yeah, I'm pretty excited. But I did see something on Twitter recently that actually I found fascinating. I thought it was really interesting to see this information come out and some of the response to it. And what came out was a leaked screenshot or video of the start screen. I've only seen this screenshot myself, but the start screen for Starfield was leaked onto Twitter, and there were a whole bunch of people getting kind of upset with the game and making it out like the game's going to be horrible because of the start screen, which I thought was very interesting. And I wouldn't have really cared that much about even making a video about it until a veteran game designer decided to comment on it. Mark Kern, an OG Blizzard alum and veteran game designer, decided to put out a take on it that I thought was very interesting. Let's just go ahead and just take a look at the screen, at the start screen, and just take a look at what he said. So as you can see, here is the start screen. Pretty straightforward. Some would consider bare bones, minimalistic, and straightforward. You've got the Starfield logo right there in the center. You've got a planet that's being silhouetted by what is clearly a star. You've got your basic menu there, new game, load, settings, photo gallery. And then you've got a welcome screen right here and the Bethesda logo down in the bottom left-hand corner. Let's just get through this quickly. This is not like the best and the greatest start screen ever, right? But I don't really see any issue with this. I think this is perfectly fine and serviceable as a start screen. It is straightforward, to the point. The only thing that personally I would have changed is maybe either getting rid of the welcome to Starfield up in that top right hand corner, or potentially moving it over here such that it's not actually getting in the way of the silhouette. Like, that's my only real criticism of the start screen. But other than that, it's very serviceable, straightforward. I don't really have any issues with it myself. And I've been playing Bethesda games for a long time, so this is actually very reminiscent of many of their other start screens, which we'll get to in a second. But Mark Kern, aka Grummz, on Twitter, seemed to have a very different take. He says the physiognomy of, I'm not even sure if I'm saying that correctly, of start screens. The start screen of a game can reveal a lot about how rushed the team was and how much pride they took in their work. Starfield Start Screen either shows hasty shipping deadlines by a passionate team overworked, or a team that didn't care. I find that very interesting. Start screens are often done at the very end of the development, which makes sense. Teams are too busy making the core game. It's quite common for the start screen to completely change once the game is shipped or on patch, correct? I've seen that many times. Teams that take pride want to put a good face forward and will often redo these just prior to the game going live. Yeah, but not necessarily, because again, in my opinion, start screens are very basic and straightforward, at least should be. The most insane example is probably the installer for the original Command & Conquer. It's never been outdone. This is the remastered version, and he links the video on YouTube. I don't really care that much about his example of what's quote-unquote a good start screen. Command & Conquer series is phenomenal, don't get me wrong, but I'm more interested in what he's essentially saying here, where he's saying that the start screen either shows a hastily shipping deadlines by a passionate team that's overworked, implying that the game is probably going to be unfinished, that there's going to be all sorts of bugs and things like that, which I think there's a possibility, right? I don't think he's inherently wrong when he says that. I think there's certainly a possibility of that. And then the other take is that, or it's a team that didn't care, meaning that the team that was working on it didn't have any really passion towards the project, and therefore that's why you have such a minimalistic take. I think he's jumping to assumptions here, in my opinion. I think he's actually jumping to assumptions here because this is considered an art style. This is minimalistic, right? Now, I don't think that his criticisms are 100% off, but I think that he is jumping to certain assumptions based off of his own biases towards the start screen or whatever that he's thinking. And somebody actually called him out on it, in which they said, you quite literally said the game could be bad based on the start screen, which is how I read it. Maybe that's not what he meant, but that's certainly how I read it and certainly how it comes off. He says, reread it, you'll see I said no such thing about the quality of the game. I do feel like he's being a little bit dishonest here, because the implication of what he was saying before is that either the team is overworked and they probably didn't meet their deadlines, or that the team didn't have any passion about the game and therefore the game's not going to be good. It's a pretty easy translation of what he said in the original tweet, so I don't know. And just for comparison, another user on Twitter, Destin, decided to put up some of the Bethesda's previous game starting screens. So he's got Fallout 3 here. Again, pretty straightforward, bare bones. You've got an image that I know from my time playing the game will also sort of like rotate out like they're doing a slideshow, right? It'll start with one image, and then a couple seconds later, it'll swap out to another image. Pretty straightforward, bare bones. You've got the logo here, and then you've got the actual menu options here. Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, arguably one of the best Skyrims that they've done. Again, pretty straightforward, bare bones. You've got a start button here, which then brings up the menu options, which is again very similar to what you saw in Starfield and in Fallout 3. And you've got the logo, and that's it. Got a black background with some smoke in the background, and that's it. Pretty bare bones. Here you've got Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is probably the most visually interesting, because they've got essentially a series of still images in which the camera's scrolling through, and you get to see, you know, the image of the power armor, and then you've got the broken Mr. Gutsy, and I think there's an image of a Nuka-Cola machine and the Red Rocket station in general. That's probably a lot more busy than any of the previous ones, but still pretty basic, bare bones. And you've got your straightforward menu here. And then for comparison, here's Starfield again. These all seem to be pretty much in line with Bethesda and what they've done in the past. I don't really see why Grummz seems to be taking it that because it's bare bones like this, that somehow that means that the team was overworked and therefore probably not actually finishing the game, or that the team didn't care. Now, personally, I don't know what the game is going to be like. I don't have access to it yet, and I will certainly be picking it up as soon as I can. Yeah, I think this is certainly him jumping to conclusions very quickly just based off of a start screen that was ultimately leaked. And who knows if that start screen might even be the same by the time it actually launches. And to his point, he does say that, you know, they may potentially update that start screen on the patch, you know, at their first patch, or, you know, at launch. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I do find it interesting. But if you guys have made it this far into the video, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you guys think he is jumping to conclusions, or do you think he has a point? And what do you guys think of Starfield? Are you excited for it, or do you think it's going to bomb? We'll see. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please consider hitting that like button and potentially subscribing for more. And until next time, this is Green Leader, signing out.